Once upon a time, there were 25 tin soldiers, all brothers, for they had all been made from the same old tin spoon. They all looked exactly alike, except for one, who had only one leg. He had been made last, and there was not enough tin to finish him. But he stood as firmly on his one leg as the others did on their two, and it is he whose story we are about to hear. On the table where they were laid out, there were many other playthings, but the most beautiful of all was a little paper castle. Through its tiny windows, you could see the rooms inside. In front of the castle stood small trees around a little mirror that looked like a lake. Wax swans swam on its surface and were reflected in it. All this was lovely, but the loveliest of all was a little lady who stood at the open door of the castle. She was a dancer, cut out of paper, but she wore a dress of the finest linen, with a little blue ribbon over her shoulder like a scarf. In the middle of this ribbon was a shining tinsel rose, as big as her whole face. The little lady stretched out both her arms, for she was a dancer, and she lifted one leg so high in the air that the tin soldier couldn't see it. And he thought that, like himself, she had only one leg. That would be the wife for me, he thought. But she is very grand. She lives in a castle, while I have only a box, and there are 25 of us in it. Still, I must try to get to know her. He then lay down at full length behind a snuff box that was on the table. From there, he could watch the dainty little lady, who continued to stand on one leg without losing her balance. When evening came, all the other tin soldiers were put into their box, and the people of the house went to bed. Now the toys began to play. The tin soldier was so captivated, he couldn't take his eyes off her. The clock struck 12, and pop! Up flew the lid of the snuff box. But it wasn't tobacco inside. No, but a little black goblin. "Tin soldier," said the goblin, "don't wish for what doesn't belong to you." But the tin soldier pretended not to hear. "Just you wait till tomorrow," said the goblin. The next morning, the children placed the tin soldier on the windowsill. Whether it was the goblin or a gust of wind, suddenly the window flew open, and the soldier fell head over heels from the third-story window. It was a terrible fall. He landed on his head, with his one leg sticking straight up in the air. The maid and the little boy ran down to look for him, but though they searched everywhere, they couldn't find him. Soon, it began to rain. The drops fell faster and faster until it was a downpour. When it was over, 2 street boys came by. "Look," said one, "there's a tin soldier. Let's give him a boat to sail in." So they made a boat out of a newspaper, put the tin soldier in the middle of it, and he sailed away down the gutter. The 2 boys ran alongside, clapping their hands. The paper boat rocked violently, and at times, it spun around so fast, the soldier trembled. But he remained steadfast, never moving a muscle, looking straight ahead, and holding his musket tightly. Suddenly, the boat drifted into a long, dark drain. It was as dark as being in his box. "Where can I be going?" he wondered. Then he remembered the goblin, Jet. Then, a large water rat who lived in the drain rushed out. "Have you a passport?" the rat demanded. The tin soldier was silent and held his musket even tighter. The current grew stronger. The soldier could already see daylight at the end of the tunnel, but he also heard a roaring sound, which was enough to frighten any brave man. The water from the gutter was rushing straight into a large canal. For him, it was like being swept over a giant waterfall. The boat was so close to the edge he couldn't stop. It plunged over. The poor soldier held himself as stiff as he could. No one could say he had even blinked an eye. The boat spun around 3 or 4 times, filled with water to the brim, and began to sink. The soldier stood up to his neck in water, and the boat sank deeper and deeper. Slip. The paper became soft and tore apart. Water closed over the soldier's head. He thought of the beautiful little dancer whom he would never see again. Then, just as he sank, a large fish swallowed him. Oh, how dark it was inside! Darker than the drain, and terribly cramped. But the tin soldier remained steadfast, lying at full length, still holding his musket. The fish swam about, making the most frightful movements, but at last, it became quite still. A flash of lightning seemed to go through it. Daylight shone brightly, and someone cried out, "The tin soldier!" The fish had been caught, taken to market, sold, and brought into the kitchen, where the cook had cut it open with a large knife. But the tin soldier was not proud. They stood him on the table, and there what wonderful things can happen in the world. He was in the very same room he had been in before, saw the same children, the same toys on the table, and the beautiful paper castle with the lovely little dancer at the door. She was still balancing on one leg, with the other high in the air. She too was steadfast. The tin soldier was so moved he could have wept tin tears, but that would not have been proper for a soldier. He looked at her, and she looked at him, but they said nothing. Then, one of the little boys took the tin soldier and, for no reason at all, threw him straight into the stove. It must have been the work of the goblin in the snuff box. The tin soldier stood in the heart of the flames and felt a heat that was terrible. But whether it came from the real fire or from the fire of love, he did not know. His bright colors were gone. He looked at the little lady, and she looked at him. He felt himself melting, but he still stood steadfast with his musket on his shoulder. Suddenly, a door flew open. The draught caught the little dancer, and she flew like a sylph straight into the stove to the tin soldier, flashed up in a flame, and was gone. The tin soldier melted down to a lump, and the next day, when the maid was taking out the ashes, she found him in the shape of a little tin heart of the dancer. Nothing remained but the tinsel rose, and that was burned as black as a coal.